All right, yes, I'm here. You can all probably can hear me now.
Yeah, we can. And I hope that I shared the right to, I give you the right to share the screen. Can you please try?
Okay, all right. So I will first focus on several things. So today, as I understand, we have 20 minutes for this presentation about our territory, where we come from, what this place is, and I'm again happy to see so many people who came to this presentation. This is actually something that I want to say about this area where I come from. Basically, I lived in so many countries. I came to study at many, many different universities in New Zealand, in Hungary, in the United States. So I traveled in many, many countries. But I'm always happy to go back to the world where I belong to. That's the world that we know as Lake Baikal area, Siberia. And it sounds a little bit strange for so many people. How can we be so enthusiastic, so patriotic of Lake Baikal in Siberia? But today I want to introduce this world that I think is again something that is so much of great value for all the humankind to have this wonderful lake, to have this beautiful area, but also to see this interesting place in Siberia where everything is different from the rest of the country. Where we are so much exotic. We're blessed with these natural resources. We're blessed with so many things that we can use and take for granted that we don't normally find anywhere else. So I traveled, of course, and I saw so many wonderful places. And there are wonderful, interesting, beautiful areas which you can always visit. But this is something, again, that I want to stress that you can find it only here in this area. Many, many interesting people, many advantages of being in a very remote place, but at the same time, like the hub of intellectual life. And that's what Irkutsk is. Lots of people in the United States ask me questions of where I come from, and I told them about the largest country in the world. And that was actually a very hard question for many people in Texas, in Illinois, in Indiana. These are the states that I lived for a long, long period of time. And they were surprised. They thought it was Canada, it was Great Britain, it was Australia, it was perhaps even China. But then I said it was actually the coldest area where I come from. So the typical answer was Antarctica. And that's actually a little bit surprising and actually a little bit funny. But Siberia, of course, is the country which is the second one and the only actually coldest country we know because Antarctica doesn't have any statehood. So we have a very cold climate. But again, it's in the southern part of Siberia. So if actually it's much, much warmer than in the northern parts. And that's where we really have, I would say, temperatures which are rather mild by even like many country standards. So there are many things that you find in this wonderful land. And so several things that we need to understand about Siberia, that historically it was really separate from the rest of Russia. And that's Asian part of Russia. That's where we really have many indigenous native people living, of course, like in small groups. We really have plenty of space available for the citizens. In this case, there are not so many conflicts we find in the Wild West, in the American history, in many other countries' histories, because it's always enough place for so many different groups to meet, to live in peace and harmony. So, from one point of view, Siberia is actually the place of tolerance, where we have lots of people like Aboriginals coming from the areas of and we can definitely find like from Asian many like different locations, and we have also lots of migrants now coming from Central Asia, and in this case, it's a very multi-ethnic and multiracial society that we find in especially in Irkutsk as the main hub of Siberia. So another interesting point about Siberia that historically, for example, peasants they wanted to migrate to go to the Siberia simply to find more land. In this case, they would not depend on their feudals, on aristocrats, and actually the people were generally free. To live, they didn't really belong to any particular aristocratic family. So this way, Siberia is also the place where you literally had more freedom from the actually from the capital, more autonomy. And so that's another actually big plus in our life. But what is interesting about, of course, our area and what makes it so unique and so magnificent is Lake Baikal that we live nearby. It's only about 50 minutes to drive to Lake Baikal coast. Basically, we have shores of Lake Baikal very, very close to us, and the area of the lake really provides us with this 20% of freshwater resources that we take for granted. But also wanted to stress several things connected with our history, and that's something that we need to understand. That's basically a feature of this city that we again live in. And the city of Irkutsk really has many, I would say, very peculiar features. Number one, it's actually the like one of the oldest cities in Siberia, the 17th century. It's also the city that has European architecture and it has European culture that you like. It's probably the main one which keeps this European heritage. And many streets of Irkutsk, they are really similar to what we find in St. Petersburg, the Nevsky Prospect. So it's a replica of St. Petersburg. And the main reason here was that historically, the merchants that really controlled Irkutsk, they controlled the trade with China. Remember, Kakhta was the only place on the border between Russia and China where trade was possible to have for a long period of time because China was so much isolated and closed. And Irkutsk was the place which controlled this trade route, controlled all this volume of goods coming from China, and the city was very rich. And that's why we have lots of designs of many buildings, just simply replicating, copying what we had in the capital of the country of the 18th and 19th century. And so many buildings are just also very old. Sometimes maybe they will have a very interesting wooden sector, which makes actually so many foreigners and tourists excited. Again, might be something maybe so old and a little bit decrepit, not really maybe well developed, but these are the certain features of history that we find in the city. There are also so many important advantages like that we really had with you when we literally go and see so many things in Irkutsk Lake. And that's something that I think personally there'll be, well, first of all, big alleys, streets, where really we have lots of people who walk in the streets where you can see some interaction. Lots of interesting historical events celebrated here, like the 9th of May, there like some big holidays in the cities. That again, we take it for granted, but I live in other locations and we didn't really see so much interaction of citizens, of people living in many different like countries and places. So in this context, of course, we have some again like features of a very different culture that we are eager to share, of course, and to show when we have many events in the city. New Year celebration is something of great value, and where we have lots of also many like other interesting places and locations you can go around Irkutsk. One again of the most probably interesting things that and people are usually surprised about that's actually price of electricity. Historically, Irkutsk really is in the Angara River cascade, where we have lots of river resources used here for electricity controlled by the humans. Soviet big building sites. And so we have dams or like this hydroelectric stations giving us a lot of very, very cheap electricity. So it's one of the cheapest prices. I think it's actually the cheapest place where we can get electricity for free. Like almost for free compared with many other countries. So people don't really pay a lot for electric use. Another interesting thing that we are the only city that really has access to clean water going from Lake Baikal. So because the Angara River, where Irkutsk is located on, really brings all this clean, fresh water from Lake Baikal. That's another thing that is also very much surprising. Tap water, which we have. So in this context, again, the city is also vibrant. It's full of energy, and it really has so many activities and things. Like generally, we're talking about like museum life, theater life, many universities providing some big avenues, big stadiums now, sports events, all of that again available in the city of Irkutsk. That's why we feel ourselves, and this is actually a very interesting feature of Siberia, and especially for Irkutsk, we are the hub, we are the center. We live in the capital. Historically, the capital that controlled not only Irkutsk Oblast, but also areas to the east. We're talking about Buryatia, talking about the Transbaikal area. All of them were controlled by this city where we had the main administration. Yakutia, the Far East. Yeah, the Far East was actually negotiated all these like treaties by the Irkutsk governor. Kamchatka, Chukotka, and even the story about Alaska. It's again the connection is with Irkutsk because it's Irkutsk merchants, Irkutsk authorities organizing all these expeditions, which again scientifically explored lots of different territories and brought a lot of, I would say, territories under Russian control. So that's a certain feature when you live in the city. We literally have a very high intellectual level of communication, of discussions that we really find. Again, that's not really something that you find in many smaller places and locations. So the city has managed to go through this very difficult period of time of the 1990s when many Siberian cities really collapsed because some industries they couldn't simply survive. Yes, and so we have a loss of like many big other centers of Siberia because of economic changes. Irkutsk in this case is really the hub of so many companies working, first of all, to extract natural resources, but also lots of research institutes, lots of other like big government projects that provide us with this opportunity, well, to find employment, to really work, to create something, to cooperate, international links. Location is actually one of the most interesting things when you really count the number of days and hours when how you travel, because we're literally 3 hours, 3 days away from Vladivostok, 3 days away from Moscow, 3 days away from Beijing when you use a train. Yeah, we're talking about train travel, three days also to go to Almaty, the former capital of Kazakhstan. So Irkutsk is right in the center of Asia, right in the center of their world, as we say. So meaning that in many cases, maybe we are so much privileged to be far away, like it's too remote for us, and sometimes far away from lots of different concerns that like wars, conflicts, historically, that affected, of course, Russia before, that never really came here. In many cases, that's also where Russia could get some new forces and energy to withstand challenges in its history. So Irkutsk is right in the middle, really bringing up and having this certain, I would say, important connection, of course, with the Oriental countries, because we are on this right in the middle of the Trans-Siberian Railroad. That is, remember, the main link, the main big transportation link between Vladivostok and Moscow, and we are right in the middle of that, meaning that we are still this certain connection with many Oriental countries. In this case, of course, it's quite in many cases something that we take for granted, that we have so many foreign visitors and students coming, especially from Mongolia, China, Russia, like Russian universities, all really host. But Irkutsk really has one of the oldest traditions of learning languages, by the way, Mongolian, and there were lots of also interpretation schools of Chinese here before, and something again that I think it's quite automatic here. It's also the city that has this, I would say, opportunities, so many opportunities for foreign students really to immerse into Russian culture, to live here just like Russians, where we literally accept anybody who is coming here. So that's another like very, very important thing when we really think about our world. So I try to make the very, very important like features, like to outline what are the main advantages of living, of course, in Siberia and living in Irkutsk. And so I think in this case, Anna, I have a question. Do you have like, do we have any time for questions? Perhaps maybe some students would like to ask these questions, or would like to maybe use chat to have these questions for us. Because in this case, maybe there are some other different aspects that students might be interested in. Do we have any other like questions? Okay, I don't see probably right now like any questions coming to me. So I know that we limited a little bit on time, and something maybe that you'd like to know, and to maybe like there are some other different like aspects of things that you find. In Russia, everything is different, by the way, from your countries. First of all, number one, of course, is going to be climate. It's not that cold as it used to be. Yeah, right now the temperatures would be in January probably around -30, but only several days. Most of the time, the cold here, it's not that humid as in Moscow. So meaning that it's much easier to withstand. And we wear fur hats, and now it's almost the season to wear coats, fur coats. That's something that down coats. That's something that we need to dress ourselves. And then everything would be fine, because some of you really come from very southern warm places, warm countries. And again, it's not really that problematic. We have also some very, very interesting culture of like going to our daches in summertime, finding some additional like fruits, like growing vegetables mainly for our years. So one thing that also when you live here, it's something that you need to understand. You literally have a lot of organic products that we take for granted. We eat, again, anything that we grow. And in this case, of course, we are much closer to this, I would say, good and I would say correct way, like food products that are usually pretty much lost in the West, where we have fast food industry dominating now, pretty much like any European and developed countries. So Irkutsk really has still a very uh, tasty and delicious cuisine to offer, coming again from mixture of many different ethnic groups living here, but also providing you with these organic products that we like to eat, and that's something that we take for granted. So I think it's already like by basically 5:50. Question now to any of you, like, do we have any questions? Anything that you wanted to ask me about? Okay. Do you want me maybe to talk about something else, like because that's something that you'd like to know? Is it clear? Okay, because I need just to see like whether there is any certain like response. Uh-huh. Is it clear? Do you want me maybe to focus on something else that you needed to know? Guys, any certain questions from you? Because maybe something that I said you were not so much familiar with. Okay, so let me see whether we have like any certain information from Anna, and perhaps maybe we really can like maybe focus on something else, that if you'd like to know that. Yeah. So again, guys, don't be shy.